Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'll be reviewing another interesting professional game that I watched on Fox Go server between Li Weiqing 7P versus Ke Jie 9P. At the time of the video, Ke Jie is number 2 in the world and Li Weiqing is number 26. So both top 30 players, both, world champion contenders. Ke Jie already has been a world champion, or is a world champion, so very strong players. Chose this game actually because of an interesting situation appeared in the opening, and then that kind of led into the middle game, and then thus the end game. So interesting position in the opening, and yeah, I hope you find the game interesting and the review insightful. So let's get into it. Ke Jie is black, Li Weiqing is white. So already off the bat, Ke Jie is playing a pretty unorthodox opening. Definitely not unheard of, but definitely less common. Yeah. He approaches, and then white kicks. So the kick is hoping to get sente. If you play just a normal move like this, or even a pincer, if you play the pincer, black's going to be able to probably force you to take gote and then play something maybe like this, or even just directly 3-3, or fill in the empty corner. So notice white gets gote. And if you play here, same thing, black can probably ignore. The reason is because the follow-up is not that severe. This stone is still very light, so even if white plays this nice follow-up here, black can just simply answer or even just ignore again. And even with the pincer, same thing. Whether black does this or not. Let's say black doesn't. Even if white does something, this stone still has a ton of aji. White can still come out. And again, black could consider ignoring again. So the kick, while in like 3 or 4 years ago, the kick would be considered bad because you're helping your opponent. Because there's so much emphasis on sente and gote, it's considered reasonable nowadays. Even though you're making black stronger because you're adding a stone, you're hoping for sente. And that's because one stone is a lot more flexible and light than 2 stones. So now if black were to ignore these 2 stones, again, while they're not in complete danger, they're harder to maneuver, right? Because not only has white taken out the corner, but it's harder to give these up because it's 2 stones as opposed to 1 stone. So that's kind of the idea. And if black ignores here, this follow-up is just too good for white. It's too good for white. Yeah. So it's because it's kind of like, if this result happened, it would kind of be like black played here and white went here, and then black attached here, and then white went there. And obviously this attachment is not very good. So that's why you kind of want to answer, which black does. But again, because everything's about sente, black does ignore and approaches here. Probably, like, it's completely fine to answer. But maybe black doesn't want to feel like he's getting pushed around. Because then this would give white the opportunity to go where white wants to go. Maybe here, right? So, but he approaches here, and then white does take the extension away from 2 stones. This is the exact spot black would want to play to extend with 2 stones, right? You have 2 stones. You want to extend 3 lines, so J3 is on the perfect spot. But this does give black the opportunity to double pincer, or double approach. Now, this move you see a lot nowadays, and just to throw basically the only joseki I know for this, because I've seen it in a lot of pro games, is something like this would happen. White hanes, something like this. Black takes, white Ataris, and then white would win the Ko. But you can see the direction here is not so good for white, because now this stone here is isolated. And it's just, if it was one move over, it'd be in a pretty good spot for this stone. But because it's here, it's hard to use this cutting stone. So black would not only switch to the bottom, but this stone at J3 doesn't look like it's in a good spot placement-wise. It's kind of now inside of black's area. So all of a sudden, white was trying to attack black here. But then after this Joseki, black is now attacking white. So that's why I think white didn't choose this one. Again, this isn't the only Joseki that could happen, but it's probably the most common. But white just went with the kind of like the customary one before AIs, just attached to the third line approach. Black hanes, and then white fixes, and then black plays a very calm dive. And actually with this move marks a very monumental occasion in pro games. No 3-3 invasions happen in this game, or will happen in this game, so I don't know what era this game is from, but no 3-3 invasions. This game was played like maybe 2 weeks ago, so it's definitely a recent game, but I just found that kind of funny. No 3-3 invasions in a pro game. But, so black takes the corner a little bit. It helps these stones here, kind of treating the stone lightly. And white plays a knight's move, kind of capping, not a direct cap, but it's blocking these black stones from running in the left side. And I would kind of think about this move. This would be my instinct, or maybe this kind of move. But black would be able to either just jump out like this, or play this sort of attachment here. And it would be kind of easy for black. Even though white would be building the left side, black would then be able to maybe come back and use this stone a little bit. So white plays on this side first. And then if black jumps out this way, you can see now white is playing on the side he probably wanted to play anyways. But he's blocking black from getting a clear direction into the left side. So black actually plays another very interesting move and plays elephant jump. Right, my instinct would be to play some sort of move like this, but again, he probably does not want to touch the bottom side because he wants to try to invade there later. So he plays here. And then white jumps anyways. A lot of players might just instinctually cut here directly, but there's no point in going after the tail when you can still attack the whole group. Like, you only go after the tail once the whole fight has been settled, usually. Maybe there's some other reason why you would want to, but in general, you don't just go after the tail, because, like, black can play pretty lightly here, and it's actually kind of hard to cut black off. So that's why white doesn't just jump in, but white continues to attack the whole group. As I like to say, white keeps his eyes on the prize, keeps his eyes on the whole group. And then, like, if black wanted to, black could just peep and settle like this. It'd be pretty comfortable. Not 100% alive, but his head is out at G6, has a base. Be pretty decent. But white got to play on both the left side and the bottom side, while black basically got like 3 points of territory here. So black isn't satisfied with just living, so black actually plays a very I always say the word interesting, so I'm trying to think of a different word to use, but a very unusual move. I really like this move, so I'm not saying it's bad. I really like this move. I would not consider this move. So this is why I love watching professional games, because it just adds more moves to my arsenal that I can use against other players. So yeah, this move is so nice. If white tries to cut black from connecting, black would be able to make some sort of move out into the center. if white plays out in the center, black can then connect. And even though it's a bunch of knight's moves and one space jumps, which we would usually think is a no-no, because it's in the corner, it's actually pretty impossible for white to cut anything here. So black would be just completely connected and take out all the points in the corner. So white doesn't know right now, okay, do I want to split black or do I want to keep black sealed in? So white turns his attention back to the lower left. Kind of saying, you can do what you want on the bottom right, but the bottom left is what's urgent. And yeah, white tries to attack black. And this is kind of what I was talking about, where the opening was pretty interesting, where it's like, what is this opening, right? It's so insane, and I love it because of it. It's so cool. And then even black's next move is, wow, look at that move. So confident, so confident. So what is this move doing? So black just pushes from behind. White would just happily extend. And even if black does something like this, then white would be able to come back. And now, since white has those stones in the center, it's going to be harder for black to handle these two stones. So black doesn't want to just push from behind. And black really doesn't have a chance here ever to come back and connect, because white would just eat this group alive. Yeah, that would be too painful, too painful. So black's trying to continue to stay light. If white pushes from this direction, this would be bad, because black would just give up the one stone and then capture here. This is the ladder, so white's unable to save this cutting stone. This is also a ladder, technically a net, but it's a ladder as well. Can net there or can ladder this way. So cutting that way doesn't work, but cutting this way is what's interesting to me. I believe white doesn't do this. So white doesn't do this because it's very hard to seal black in. And even if you do seal black in, your white's outside has so many defects in it that it's hard to really call it thickness. Like, I don't know if pushing here is better or not, but go there. You can do this. Yeah, I'm not sure. This still feels good for white, doesn't it? Black extends once more. White needs to Hane. There's no other move. And it's black goes here. White can Atari like this. And what's the ladder doesn't quite work for black. This ladder, how should I show it? Let's do it like this. The ladder almost works for black, but because this move is an Atari on these two stones, and this move is an Atari on these two, on this one stone, black cannot ladder white. So that's why I'm a little confused. Maybe if this happens, maybe black would cut once and then play a move like this. If white fixes, then go here, maybe. I don't know. These bottom stones still have a ton of Aji and black seals in here. So I'm not sure, honestly. Because again, whenever your opponent plays a move like this, you should first think about cutting, because you want to think about the most, not aggressive, but the most fighting option. Yeah, so I'm not sure what else black could do here, honestly. So in the game though, so if you know, potentially why black doesn't push, or white doesn't push through and cut, let me know, because I am interested in what you guys think. There's also some Aji with this sort of move, so there's a ton of Aji that I'm probably not even considering, so having a extra pair of eyes would definitely help in this scenario. Maybe black doesn't cut, actually. Yeah, I think black just pushes. But I don't know. It would be very similar, right? Just cut like this. Regardless, though, white doesn't do that. White peeps here. White peeps there. Now goes after the elephant eye. Black peeps. Again, this is, more knight's moves, right? But this is kind of, you'll see the point of this. Peep here. And then come back and connect. And now white pushes through and cuts. So the only other thing about why white doesn't push and cut immediately is because notice if we go through this scenario again, not this one, this one. Notice what move black gets. Black, whether black pushes first or just goes here directly, black gets J4, which cuts these 2 stones, and then black can capture a stone. But notice when white went here, it kind of forced black to play this peep. And notice white's able to get J4. So now when white pushes and cuts, notice if black cuts here, there's no way for black to capture the stone at J5. So maybe white was just waiting because he could get a better cut later. Is another possibility. So white was waiting to get strength on the bottom first before cutting. And so now black does cut on this side and then white connects. So now black is completely sealed in and needs to find some way to live. And black plays at the shape point. So if black just naively just pushes and cuts this stone, white will be able to make this eye false, right? Black cannot play here because it would be self-Atari. Black needs to capture here, but then white can descend, and you can see black would resign here probably. So black plays at the shape point, like this. Now if white does whatever, something else, then black's able to push through and play here. Yeah. So it's basically the shape point of this group. So of course white connects it. Black then Hanes. Black still can't play here because white can take out the eye here. And when black Hanes, white pushes down, threatening to cut these 5 stones off. However, black just says, enough is enough, I'll just live now. And Atari's here. So I am actually kind of curious as to why white doesn't just Hane back. Because, one, it's still going after the whole group. Right? This doesn't allow black to save the tail. Even though white can capture the 5 stones, black's able to capture the corner. When going here, it would still be going after the whole group. So I'm not sure, because if black goes here, white can still play this eye stealing move, right? If black blocks, white can capture here and connect. If black blocks on this side, white can capture on this side. If black goes here, then white can still play the move he was going to play anyways. So, and if black does anything else to try to make his base bigger, again, this move threatens black's eyes a lot. It's very hard to answer this. So I don't know. I honestly do not know why white doesn't just Hane back. So this is another point where I think I need another pair of eyes, that I might be missing something. Why doesn't white just block here? Is there a semi-eye on this side that white's worried about? Right? Like, technically, I don't know the best way to set it up, but maybe if something like this happens. Is this semi-eye too painful? It looks good for white. Right? Just go here. But I don't know. I do not know. So if anybody knows why white doesn't just block here, let me know. Now you will see that capturing these 5 stones is also very big, right? White captures these 5 stones, which means this stone at F8 is basically useless, and this stone at K7 isn't quite as useless, but it's kind of in a weird spot. And white gets sent to anyways. So white captured here. So now that white has all this thickness, white then comes back to split off these 2 stones. So as much as I really like this move here, I think it's a little too quick. I think black should just continue the pressure on this side. If I had to recommend anything to the number 3 player in the world, because even though all of black stones on the bottom are light, it's still, black has 2 weak groups, and technically white does have 2 weak groups as well, but it just feels, because white gets sente to play where white wants to play first, it's a big deal. Like if black goes here and white cuts, I'll just do something very simple. Then when black comes back, now black is already out and black cannot be sealed on the bottom left. If white ignores and plays, let's just say white plays very simply, this move is pretty big actually, because it's helping black's connection here. You know, comes back and then maybe comes out like this. I don't know. It doesn't. Maybe black felt black would just be getting dame like this, so black was trying to start something. But felt this kind of lost black tempo for sure. Because you can tell when a player loses tempo is because when they play a move like this, and they never get to respond to it. Like white was able to play all these moves first, and then come back and respond anyways once the board has changed. So that's when you know that a move is, maybe it's not even bad, but just kind of loses tempo. So those are the moves you kind of want to avoid. White just captures an interesting move because later black would be able to Atari here, so you would think black gets another forcing move, but actually this move is much better than connecting, because even though black doesn't get a forcing move on this side, black can connect here later, and this is also forcing. White can answer like this, but still, point-wise, white would be losing. Because it would kind of be like if white went here, black went here, and then white went here. So it's not that efficient. So just take the stones off the board. Sometimes it is better to prevent this Atari after the capture, but in this case, not so good. So white smartly takes the stones off. And yeah, just look at this opening we have. How quickly did it take these professionals to get into fighting? Right around move, what is that? Doesn't say, but that's around, how many white stones are there? 4, 8, 11. So move 22, they're already fighting. Who needs opening nowadays, right? That's why we invade 3/3s, to leave the opening as quickly as possible. But they already have a huge fight going on, so that's pretty funny, I think. So black needs to run out. If black wanted to play O2, he can't just give it up now. He has to live with it. And technically, white isn't alive either. White turns, of course, and then black fixes. This move is really big, because if white takes like this, white would probably capture the stones here, but black would be able to seal in white like this, and black would be happy with this result. So white goes after the whole group. What if black tries to, let's say white pushes once more? White would be able to capture these stones, which now these stones in the center are now just kind of floating. So black needs to protect this cut. So this does protect the cut. However, it's not directly threatening to connect. Now, nope, not like that. Let's just say something like this happens, right? And black pincers or clamps. If white connects and black goes here, then black would be able to connect. Like so. No way for white to cut black off. However, instead of this move, the move you want to look for to keep black separated is this clamp. Notice, if black pushes now, white can cut. And if black goes here, black needs to save, and then white can connect. So there's no move here. Black can play. Black can capture the one stone here, but white can keep black separated is the idea. So black's not connected yet. So that's why white's able to Atari here. Putz is just a big move in general. And then white comes back and connects. So now, after making this exchange, black actually isn't alive on the right side. So black needs to dive. And the dive looks weird, but black does not want to give white any forcing moves against this bottom group. If black pushes, even though black would be making more points, this move at Q9 would give white more thickness in the center. So black doesn't want to give white any more forcing moves in the center because it would make white stronger. So black gives up a little bit of profit on the right side to keep this bottom group stronger. And again, if black could probably live-ish by playing here, it's not completely alive. But this move here would just be too painful. Say white goes here. Right. White probably wins this semi-eye. Yeah, white definitely wins this semi-eye. So black has to do something on the right side to help the right side group. But then it allows white to play at the shape point, taking out black's eyes. Now, this is, and I always talk about this in my videos, is when I talk about efficiency. If black just protects like this, white's just going to cover, and this stone at M4 is super strong. It has all 4 of its liberties. Yeah, it has all 4 of its liberties, which means it's pretty strong. So you might think, okay, what if I attach to it? Well, if you just attach here, white's going to come up, and it's still threatening this cut here. And then this move threatens this cut, and then you're surrounded, and you'll probably die. So that wouldn't be good either. So those might be like the 2 common ways to think about connecting, right? Yeah, maybe this one too. But black goes here. Notice white is unable to cut this way, right? When white tries to cut, black can capture here. And if white cuts this way, black is also able to capture this way, right? White's unable to get more than 2 liberties. So this move is protecting the cut. And notice when white haned, again, black doesn't go here because when white extends, again, we have that same issue where he's getting surrounded. Black then clamps. And again, this is protecting the cut. If white plays here, black can Atari and then capture. If white goes here, black will then just extend up. So, yeah, this is what you want to think about, especially in situations where you're under attack. You need to think about efficiency. Because usually when you're under attack, you're outnumbered, right? These black stones are pretty much sandwiched between all of white stones on the board, right? So black needs to think lightly and needs to think about efficiency. Now, it's a tough call, but I think black needs to do this directly. The issue with this, though, is white can descend and black needs to connect. So maybe it's just a rough situation overall, but when black goes here, white can actually play this one. Right? In the game, white haned and black could clamp. Well, white can play this move. And if black connects, white would just be able to push through, and black's unable to connect his stones. And I don't think black's alive on the bottom. Yeah, black's not alive on the bottom. Well, black could hane and then do this. Well, this is still pretty painful, isn't it? Be a gote life. White takes the outside, and yeah, not sure exactly though. Maybe white just extends up here. Either way, this move is kind of the move both players want. White could also just come back and play this one. Black connects. we get into that scenario where black gets surrounded. So I think white should go here for sure, which is why I think black should go here. Again, it's tricky because white will just descend and black's still not doing so hot, but yeah, I think white should definitely go here. Again, not saying like, sure, black gets a little bit more eye space and forces white into a little bit worse shape, but black is still struggling pretty badly here. Black needs to connect now, and then white caps. Black attaches, trying to get an eye here. And then white plays here once. Again, black doesn't want to go here because it would get black more points, but it would strengthen white in the center. So black just extends. Just extends. I also think there's an issue of what is there an issue of? Like a cutting scenario here. Yeah. So black doesn't want to strengthen white. So white just hanes and connects. Yeah, if white just played here, black would hane and then clamp and would be able to live in sente like this. Because playing at M1, M2, or M7 is miai. So white just connects. Kind of saying this move is in sente now. So white could still attack black. Black turns, hane, double hane. Cut and then extend. Some people might think, oh, if I cut directly, black can capture. But if I Atari first, now I can cut. But the issue with this is black couldn't just connect, and you can't actually cut through black here. You would take away the eye, but now that black's out, this eye here isn't that important. And this kind of move you might think about as well, but black can just connect, and black's shape is actually already connected, so no way to cut black off here. It looks scary, but no way to cut black off. Black needs to extend here, and white extends, and then Ataris. And it might look like, oh, that stone goes right to black's stone in the corner, right? And you would be right. This stone, if it was laddered, would go straight to here. But whenever you think about capturing cutting stones, always think about ladders and nets. So white can net this stone. And there's no way for black to save these two stones. Black just jumps down. Yeah, so now it's peaceful again. After all that fighting, you know, they kind of skipped opening. They went straight to middle game at move 20. And now it's kind of like the bottom half of the board is basically an end game, but the top of the board is in like opening / middle game. So now we just have empty corners and they settle themselves up. So white approaches. And then black actually, this isn't really a pincer to this P17 stone. It's more of an extension. Really, black does not want to see white getting a huge topside. So again, unorthodox move, but it's because white has these stones here. Black doesn't want white to make points there. And white also plays a peculiar move. Not that it's in and of itself a strange move, but not a move I would think of. Like I would think about immediately, oh, you ignored me in the upper right? Oh, I'm going to push you down to the second line. But maybe white might want to pincer later somehow. Right? So white doesn't want to force black to take territory. So that's why white just extends. And this move is threatening on the upper left as well. Black plays a very nice move here. Double large knights. And then white attaches. So now white's the one who's going to make sabaki in black's area. Of course, black hanes and then drops down. White turns. And black plays this move. threatening to cut off these 3 stones, but white ignores. So again, always keeping your eyes on what's important. How important are these 3 stones? Once this black center group is alive and this black corner is alive. Not that big, right? If this happens, black captures this 3 stones here, which is 6 points, and then maybe like 6 more lines of territory. So it's about 12 points, but in Gote. And then white would just capture on top, right? So obviously the top is much bigger. But also, let's just make white end in Gote, because we're mean. White ends in Gote, and black tries to cut white off. White can actually play this move. And you can see white is still threatening to connect, so black needs to go here. Then white can Hane. And if black just extends, this white group is alive like this. This is an alive shape. Or if black goes here, double Hane. Whether white, again, just lives with the 4 stones like this, or gives up the 4 stones to take the other side. I'm not sure which one's better, but for the sake of this point, basically saying these 4 stones are not that valuable because white can either live locally or take a big move on the left side. So this move, again, feels like it lost tempo. Like, if black just goes here, is black worried about white going here? I wouldn't be, right? It might help if white tries to make a base, but again, you could still play there eventually anyways. And it's not like this move also helps the black stones here, but these stones were basically already alive, for the most part at least. So I don't know, again, felt like it lost some tempo. And again, these games on Fox they're usually 15-second games, so you can't, at least in my eyes, again, I don't want to judge his moves. He's number 3 in the world for a reason, but seems like it lost tempo there, especially when we have a huge fight going on, right? But white Ataris, black connects, white of course Hanes, black covers Atari, and again white plays very strongly here, basically saying, okay, you can take, and there might be a Ko shape here, but there's no Ko threats big enough. There is no Ko threats big enough. Oh, you want to cut off those stones? Okay. I'll just take the whole top side, right? Or probably Hane. Right. So no Ko threat big enough. So black does something weird though and actually just ignores. And then white does something weird and takes and then descends. Like, I would think to just descend because this move actually takes away a liberty. So one, I'm not sure why black doesn't just connect. Sure, white gets this move, but still black's all connected. White's basically connected too, so maybe black doesn't like white getting sente. And then again, we would still have this Ko scenario. So it basically does become this, so maybe it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but the order of moves felt a little strange, to me at least, right? It becomes the same thing anyways. And then white plays a very smart move here. This move is so important to the liberties of these stones. Let's just say something like this happens. Black wouldn't give up these 2 stones, but just for the sake of argument, you can see black's actually able to connect with G18 and then cut. So whenever you have these 2 stones here and there's a cut here, this Hane at G18 is very painful. So white's trying to prevent that, but also this move is threatening to connect. So if black just blocks, white would be able to just run out. And even though this is a really bad shape, this would be the only move anyway, so it's actually not too bad. So where does black go? Black extends up, I believe. Kind of saying, okay, white, you have these stones to deal with and the upper side stones. White, then you can see this move also helps with shape. And then black attaches. Very strong move here. White's unable to cut this way because Atari, and then this move is Sente, and then black would win the semi-eye. So white just, nope. White just hanes. Black pulls back. This is also threatening to capture here. So white needs to fix. If white fixes here though, black can hane here, and white's shape is not looking so good. So white does actually go here. And then black covers. Again, threatening to cover there, so white needs to block. White can go here, but black would just block and be pretty, excuse me, it'd be pretty dangerous. There's a cut here, but it's still pretty scary for white. Yeah, white extends up. Actually, white extends up, black will cover here. Yeah, it's hard to seal black in. Although maybe it's possible. Maybe it's possible. Not sure though. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe white could have just cut. Can black do Atari first? And then cover? Does this change anything? Yeah, maybe it does actually. Now white cannot seal black in. Yeah, this is what white's worried about. Is this Atari first? Okay. I gotcha. Black plays here, thinking this is Sente, but white actually just goes on this side. You know, black can cut here, but white would just continue to take out the eyes and liberties of the corner group. So black covers here. White blocks, and then black hanes. White double hanes. Cut, and then Ataris. So now we get a very interesting situation where we now have white cuts here, and now we can see white only has 4 liberties, but there's a cut here. So the question is white able to capture these 2 cutting stones? Now, if white cuts directly, because of the board position with these stones on top, white actually is unable to capture here. If white doesn't hane, like if white just extends at L15, black has 4 liberties. White has 4 liberties. Black could just start taking away liberties. So white needs to hane here, but black can counter hane. If white cuts on this side, black can cut on this side and capture the 3 stones here. So white needs to extend. If black, let's see, if black Atari's here once. Oh, sorry, if black cuts, sorry, yeah, black cuts once. Because again, white has 3 liberties here and black has 2 liberties here, black has 3 liberties. White needs to save these stones here. And it might look like, okay, white extends, black can Atari, and then capture like this. But white would actually counter Atari this way. Actually, that doesn't work either, does it? No, it does. It does. And you can see black needs to take, but then white can capture the 4 stones. But black can just keep it simple and just Atari and then connect. And now black has 5 liberties, 4 liberties now, and then black can take. So cutting directly doesn't work. So the question is there a move white can play to save those 4, not 4 stones, but that group in the upper left? Well, white tries and plays here. Plays at the shape point directly. Black plays here. trying to extend the liberties. Again, if white cuts directly, we get that same scenario that I just showed. So white hanes. Now black connects. And then white covers. So now actually black only has 3 liberties. So he starts taking away liberties. Atari. Not Atari, but eventual Atari. You can see Atari, and then white would win this semi. So right now black is losing the semi. This Atari doesn't help either. Be the same situation. So black hanes this way. But white just plays here. And it's, again, very similar to the last situation. And at this point, actually, Ke Jie, he resigns. Because, again, there's no way to get more liberties on these cutting stones here. Get a black takes. If black connects here, white can just cover Atari like this. 3 liberties to 4 liberties. Don't really know. Black tries to... Oh, yeah, there was one more thing I wanted to show. Not this one. Oh, at this point, if black hanes like this, white can cut. And it looks like Atari, and then hane. It looks like black can capture or like do something like this, right? And then black would have enough liberties this way, but white can actually just Atari this way. And you can see capture the stones here. So after this move, double hane and then play here, black resign. Yeah, pretty crazy. Basically fighting from move 20 to the end of the game, which is really insane. Yeah. It honestly felt like white was pretty comfortable for most of the game. At least that was my impression of it. Looking through it, I didn't watch the game live, but I did catch. I think I actually watched the opening live, but I had to leave midway through. But yeah, pretty insane. I think black definitely lost tempo more than white did. Initially, at the beginning, with this move, and then later, it's probably faster to go to the end, go back, and then later with this move at c8. Yeah, just away from the action. And again, I can't blame him because nowadays it's all of this move here. It's all about trying to take sente whenever possible. Doesn't matter where your opponent plays. They could Atari 100 stones of yours. It's all about playing elsewhere. So I like, keeping things or like playing that way. So again, everything he did is, all his moves are amazing, of course, comparatively. But just in terms of this game itself, white definitely had sente more than black did. And so white was able to control, white was able to attack the bottom left. And then after attacking the bottom left, then came back to attack this 2 stones that black played here. So these 2 stones here. So white definitely had control of the game for basically all of it, which is not easy to do against number 2 in the world, sorry. But yeah, pretty crazy game. Yeah, right here. Yeah, that was the end of the game. Yeah, that's it. If you have any questions or comments about the game, please let me know in the comment section. And yeah, look forward to more videos. Yeah, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.